Let's talk about how we can use flow to understand previous periods or ranges of our measures. So if we take a look at our H2O supply, our cleanse tag, I've got a graph showing approximately 4 days of data. I'd like to take my daily, and if I remember correctly, this daily was a sum of the counter tag. So this is telling me how much we've used each day. Let's take a look at that on the data table, and I can see that it's August 1st, what I used, August 2nd, what I used, August 3rd, what I've used. Based on this information, I can also then start to take a range of values, the previous week, the previous month, and I can establish an average, a min, or a max. Let me show you how to do that. I will take my daily and I will drag it down onto my calculation. We'll call this our 3D average. Let's open it up and look at our retrieval. On our retrieval, currently, I'm pulling the value from my daily tag. If I select the daily tag, you're going to notice that we get another tab in the function box. Now I have a properties tab. This property tab allows me to set whether I want to use the current period, as you see, is currently represented, or if I want to use a previous period. A previous period allows me to look backwards, or if I'd like to use a previous range. If I want to use a previous range, I determine when I would like to start that range. Now, I am looking at a daily measure. So that means that if I type in 3, it's going to use 3 days as that range. When I do that, notice that the tag name or the measure name here is transformed. It used to be daily.value. If I remove that and bring this name into the expression, it's now shifted by 3 days to current and its values. This is returning an array of values. I now get to take that array of values and apply an aggregate. I need to type dot average and then open and close brackets. So this dot average could be dot max, dot min. I'm going to use dot average, and then I have to do an open close bracket. Now that that is established, I now will be able to deploy, and I will have a new daily measure that represents what the previous 3-day average of this daily measure was. From here, I can start to use this information and look at establishing things like projections or comparing where we've been to where we're headed. Let me show you how we would do that as well. So I've got my hourly counter. If you remember, the hourly counter is showing me every hour what have we made. I have my totalizer showing me on my totalizer tag exactly what we're making, and I've cleansed this to remove the periods that were outside of my ideal, which were when we were not making product. I would like to take this and establish a run rate from it. So instead of doing an hourly counter, I would like to understand what is my 5-minute. Let's open up the 5-minute. I don't want to do an average. I still want to do a counter. We'll deploy that. And now I'm going to use this 5-minute, and I'm going to take a run rate for the last hour. Now this run rate is going to need to use the previous hour's worth of data to establish how what we're producing or what we're using in this case. So again, select the measure, take the current period, make it a range. I'm on a 5-minute measure. To get to an hour, I need 12 of those periods. So let's look back, 12 periods. Remove the old, bring in the new, and remember, dot average, open, close. All right, deploy it, and then that's going to backfill, and that's going to give me my run rate for the last 1 hour. Now with this run rate, I am able to look backwards and say we've made this in an hour. I can also make a measure that says based on what we've made in the last hour, let's project where we're going to be in 8 hours. So if I want to do this, all I have to do is take this run rate, make it a calculation, call it my projected 8 hour, and then tell it how far forward I want to project. Be careful, I'm still in minute, or in this case 5-minute intervals. So if I want to move forward 8 hours, I don't type 8, I have to do 8 times 12. Off the top of my head, that should be 96. So we'll do 96, and then I have one more thing to do. I need to take this and I need to project it as well. Not for range, but I need to change the period and say I want you to end this 96 intervals from now. Tab out and then replace that with what is now represented here. Okay. Validate. Let's deploy. And we'll refresh. It's backfilling currently. When it's done backfilling, what we're going to see is our trend of data, and we're going to have a line inside of our graph that goes blue. And that blue line is going to represent where we're going to be in the future. Another way that we can just validate these results, because sometimes it can be really hard, at least for me, to get my head around the way the projections are working, would be if I also brought into this trend my run rate that I've established. So let's bring that in. And I'm going to take my run rate, right-click on the legend. I'm going to make my run rate thicker. And I'm going to make my projection styled as a dash. And we'll make it thicker as well, just easier to see. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on here, okay? Current time, just around 10:20. I want to look backwards an hour to 9:15, and what has been our established rate? Well, for the last hour, the rate's been 0. Therefore, what's the rate that it's projecting? It's projecting 0. Let's expand this time just a little bit further back. Let's look at 6 o'clock. Okay, now at 6 o'clock, what was our rate? Our rate was highs of 20, it looks like. And for a solid hour, we can see our rate was high. If I take this rate as my established, and I look 8 hours forward at that point, 6 o'clock, 8 hours forward would have been, what, 2 o'clock? We can see where this data was resulting in this projection. So this 8-hour offset it's important to, as I look at this, to validate, right? Do I trust these calculations? I can say, yes, I do, because I'm looking at a period of 1 hour worth of data that is showing me then where I am likely to be.